And that
There
is
hasn't been news for about 8 months since George R. R. Martin made his upsetting blog posts.
true.
Guys, what are you talking about? We can make daily videos about Winds of Winter and it coming out at some point. Come on. Come on, guys.
But thing about it is, I think that we're progressively getting worse as a fandom, and that's something that really scares me away. Is how bad will it get? Will we reach Star Wars level fandom if it continues like this? Because I have huge problems with House of the Dragon season 2, so much so that I won't cover. I won't review the show anymore, because to me that's the sensical way. That's the way you go about stuff like that. You don't like it,
Well,
I'll
see
just
how good the season premiere is, and you'll come
I'll
back.
watch it.
Maybe.
Don't get me wrong. I'll watch it, and I'll be rooting for it to get
If it's
better.
good, you'll start reviewing it again. But if
Maybe. I don't think they need me, but in terms of the fandom, it's getting worse, and I think that's a huge pity. Because nowadays it's really lucrative to shit on things. That would be the easiest thing, right? I just go about it like those nerdrotic types, and write bullshit reviews about the show just out of bad faith. But that's a lucrative thing, and I think that transformed the way in which people nowadays communicate about TV shows, films, how they talk about these new seasons. It's the it thing to be critical about something before you even know anything about it. That's the illness
Ricky,
of A Song of Ice and Fire in 2025. I think.
what you're describing is the internet.
Yeah, but it wasn't
That's just
like
the
that.
internet in
It
general
wasn't
nowadays.
Like that.
I know, I agree. It wasn't, but
was
that's just kind of the internet we're now at. We're like with politics, anything you bring up, that's just how it is now.
But back in the day, and Dragon will.
Okay, here comes his old man back in the day speech. Here we go.
Well, I've been here before.
I know.
In season 5 of Game of Thrones, and that's my main point with House of the Dragon.
I've
been here before in season 5, and back then it was the reverse. It was the exact other way around. I had huge problems, but the large majority of people, the entire fandom was very forgiving, and I think it's interesting that now, even though we have a few really good parts in season 2 and new show coming up, it's interesting that from the get-go there's a lot of negativity, because negativity has gotten lucrative, whether it be writing articles or making bullshit videos on YouTube, or just as simple as making a hit tweet for the sake of shitting on something. And yeah, I'll be interesting to hear your thoughts on this, Dragon. You've been the voice of criticism back in the day for during season
that people
5.
were surprised I was giving a measured assessment of what Condal is doing. But first off, we all know that Nerdrotic, he's claiming that the woke mob has sapped and impurified his precious bodily fluids, but we know why he's really angry and projecting that.
Because he has
but otherwise,
a small penis.
Well, let's not get into that. But the thing is, with the negativity and everything, I think it's a lot like when you have someone who's been through a toxic romantic relationship that I was understanding, and the other person, oh, you're late, you're missing dates and stuff, but okay, I'm understanding, you're busy, I'm not trying to be controlling. And then you find out they missed your date because they were seeing someone else behind your back. So then you're dating a new person and they go, oh, I'm sorry, I had to cancel our date. And you're like, are you cheating on me? That we've been burned. We've been burned by Benioff and Weiss and all of the lying, that when there were massive legitimate problems, the strikes, and there are creative differences, but the biggest obvious thing that they literally cut off our last 2 episodes, that particularly the middle of the season feels like a rough draft, because it is, and they have stressed we were not allowed to do rewrites. I understand why that happened. That is a reasonable point, but we have been, I can't think of a worse example of this. I mean, other than like the disjointed Star Wars things, even then, no, the people in, no, that it's literally on every level that Benioff and Weiss didn't know what they were doing when they've boasted about how we just faked our way into running this, and then the media laughed along with them. But I don't want to get into that right now. But we've been hurt before in terms of people yelling. And like you said, I'm going to keep this short. I sent you guys that article in The Verge by the guy who used to talk about Game of Thrones at GQ while it was running, Kevin Nguyen. And he admitted, yeah, we were doing search engine optimization at the time. And back then it was gaming the algorithm in a positive way. Let's put in, is Jon Snow going to do something cool next episode versus, well, there's a lot of logical failures in this episode. Wow, the Arya chase with the waif is so cool. And we're sitting here going, she just got stabbed in the gut. How is she doing? They wanted her to literally do cartwheels, and Maisie argued them down. Other than she wasn't I just stabbed? Because they wanted to impress people. But there's a whole thing on that. But the point is, back then it was gaming the algorithm with positive hype. Now, and I'm not just saying this, you see it's surreal when I've seen people who have video channels who remain nameless because there's more than one, actually going, wow, I need to start yelling at people on Twitter more because I've heard that negative comments do better in the algorithm.
And that's the shit.
And it's not that the companies themselves are going, oh, these companies are pushing things with the algorithm. It's that it's trickled down to the point that every Gen Z with an iPhone is making bashing videos on Instagram for a minute because they think it'll make them a social media influencer. They are actively trying to say criticisms that have no basis in reality, much less like the point when there was a video I really didn't like, and I made a reaction video on this, but by someone who was clearly clickbaiting on YouTube. It was an hour-long video they made, and it was like, this is fanfic by Sarah Hess. And one of their big things was this guy spent like 20 minutes. His main thesis was season 2 was bad because when Sapochnik left, he was the last Game of Thrones director. Therefore, there was no connection to Game of Thrones. Yeah. And within 5 minutes of watching this, and I posted it live, went, Alan Taylor directed Rook's Rest, directed Blood and Cheese, literally directed Ned Stark's death episode. But this isn't like, oh, the issues we have with Rhaenys or certain characters being cut or nettles, and we'll get to that. This is a factually impossible criticism that they're just looking for things to get clicks for. I used to think they believed in these criticisms when you realize
they don't.
They're looking to try to just get one in because it's the new, this is how to tweak the algorithm.
Yeah, but like I said, it's the lucrative thing. This is how you get successful on a platform like YouTube.
But it's happening, like you guys already said, it's not our fandom, it's the internet and the comments. Because if you go by channel creators, I haven't seen people really outright bashing like 100%. This is worse than season 8 from the dedicated to Song of Ice and Fire channels. Usually had a more nuanced take than that.
Yeah. I was surprised.
It's not as bad as season 8. Like that's crazy.
That is crazy because we gotta remember
it's more like season 5, season 6 level for me. But
I'd rank it around. It's around season 2, but keep in mind I didn't like season 2.
I will say, as a book reader who's like hardcore going into book 2 now, my opinion of season 2 is getting much worse. I will say that.